Have you ever wondered what the major functional differences are between a studio strobe and a typical speedlight? Better yet, have you ever asked yourself if a small speedlight could match the quality of a larger studio strobe? In today's epic shootout, we're going to put those questions to the test in the studio versus speedlight epic shootout. Anthony Scott of Shoms Photography is a Southern California portrait specialist. His clientele includes celebrities, film stars, and some of the most beautiful models in the state. Shom's work has been published in multiple magazines, product ads, and in many elite private collections. Shom's signature look typically involves elaborate, gorgeous costumes, many of which he designs and creates himself, being an expert mold maker. Shom is, in my regard, one of the very best portrait strobe specialists in the country. Michael Andrew, also known as Michael the Maven, yours truly, has produced over 30 crash course training videos on numerous products, including my best-selling Speedlite crash courses. My video lessons are geared towards beginning and intermediate photographers who are looking to skip that learning curve and get into shooting and taking great images quickly. For this head-to-head shootout, both photographers will be using Canon 5D Mark IIIs with a 70-200 2.8L image stabilized lens version 2. Shom will be using one of the best new studio strobes on the market, the Cheetah Stands CL360, as well as any other tool in his arsenal. This includes stands, filters, diffusers, transmitters. We want Shom to shoot as he normally does and present his very best work. He is also supplying our model, Elizabeth. The Cheetah Stands CL360 is rated at 360 watt-seconds with a guide number of 80. Complete as shown, which includes a battery pack, a transmitter, and receiver, it goes for about $730. Michael will be limited to what he can carry in his travel backpack, which includes one Canon Speedlite 600 EXRT with an ST-E3 wireless transmitter. Michael also carries with him his newly released Maven adapter, a flash bender's diffuser, and is also allowed to use a hardware pull and an assistant on this shoot. Canon's current flagship Speedlite, the 600 EXRT, is rated at about 58 to 60 for its guide number, depending on how you crunch the numbers, and it's estimated to be between 60 and 70 watt-seconds. At $550 for the flash and another $300 for the transmitter, this package costs $850. We are primarily interested in shooting portraits at high noon in very harsh sunlight. I'm shooting primarily from a teaching perspective, first showing the results that would come from common mistakes, and then tweaking as I go to try to make my little Speedlite try to match up with what Shom is doing with his studio strobe. I'm also going to make it a point to show you the differences between a good and a great image. The importance here is to come away from this video as a better photographer. The challenges that I had when I was shooting with a Speedlite was, I like to shoot also at very telephoto focal lengths, but the problem with that when you're using a Speedlite is if you put the Speedlite on your camera, there's just no way you're going to be able to use it effectively because you're 20 or 30 feet away from the subject. And that was a huge problem I ran into yesterday, and I started, these initial shots. This is what I was getting with and without the Speedlite. It was almost as if the Speedlite was doing nothing. And the only way you can really get some good fill with a Speedlite shooting at 200 is to get the Speedlite off the camera and move it as close as you can to the subject, because your Speedlite is limited by distance. We have the inverse square root law of light. It has to be close, and that was the only way I was able to take anything similar to what Shom was doing. Shom was using the CL360, a lot of power, recycled very quickly. He was able to get a lot of shots off faster than I was. I had 4 AA batteries that eventually burned out. Those are some of the challenges when you're shooting with a Speedlite. It just doesn't have the power to shoot at 200 millimeters away from your subject.
Yeah, you were shooting really close, probably about maybe 3 feet away.
We got the Speedlite on the Maven adapter. Those shots were hard. You can see that the light is a little bit too hard on Liz. Then we went to an umbrella. You let us borrow that umbrella to soften it up, and it was about 2 or 3 feet away from Liz. And those pictures were the ones that started coming out, and we started getting a nice soft look. But when we were comparing our images, I looked at the depth of field on the rocks. I was shooting at f13. It was very bright, Shom was shooting at 2.8. We both had the same cameras. We're both shooting with 5D Mark IIIs, 7200 millimeter lens. I had to use a very small aperture. Shom was able to use a wide aperture. Tell us why.
It's because I use an ND filter. A lot of people like to use high speed sync, but I'm more prone to use the ND filter because I don't like wasting my flash power. If I was going high speed sync, it just drops every time it flashes, and the recycle time is just crazy, and it just tears your batteries up.
Yeah, that's true.
The ND filter, there's the ones that I loaned you later into the shot was the veritable, and I had a ND 16, and I know that 4 stops is going to put me pretty much exactly where I'm at. I mean, I have other ones, but I knew the 4-stop one was going to give me the nice shallow depth of field back here in the back.
And it's really soft. If we were looking and we're comparing the rocks in these two pictures, yours is really soft. Mine, as you can see the detail on the rocks. Yours, I believe, is more artistic. It just feels more like something you would see in a magazine. The reason why he used an ND filter is because the ambient light is so bright that if you didn't use it, these would all be overexposures.
Yeah, because I shoot at high noon most of the time.
That's another important point. Shom likes to shoot from 9 to 12 in the afternoon. Very unusual. Most photographers don't like to shoot from 9 to 12 because we get these raccoon eyes.
Right.
Why is it not a problem for you?
Well, it's because I like shooting at that time because the flash and the ambient light is almost the exact same color. If I shoot at dusk or I shoot at the golden hour, then I'm going to have to gel my flash. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to lose almost a stop of power because of that gel. And I rather just shoot an open and not have to carry all that extra stuff to put on the lens or anything else to get that quality of light.
Shom lent me his variable ND filter. I put it on my lens. I don't know. We have very different shooting styles and techniques, but I wanted to see how close I could get to Shom's look with minimal gear. And this is the gear I always bring with me on an airplane trip. It's what I can carry in my bag. It's not a lot, but it's a good challenge to say how close can I get. And at near the end, I think I was getting sort of close to what you're doing, but the key there was the ND filter and going down to 2.8, and that's when we were starting to see some success. The Maven adapter was huge because we were able to kind of position it quickly around our model and get it right up in her face without interfering with the shot.
Yeah, you were right around 2 to 3 feet. At the 12 feet, I'm pumping out. At 8 feet with the lighting setup I'm using is actually pushing out f64. So that's the actual power I'm shooting onto that subject at that time we were shooting. And then it was actually a lot of my shots were overexposed because I was up that high where I didn't need to be. One of the great advantages about having the monopole and a light stand is the key things is the stand can't get into everywhere. So if you look at this terrain, the stand cannot sit flat everywhere I go. Yeah. Where the mono stand here and with the Maven adapter on it, I mean, you have to have another extra guy. Yeah. But the key thing is you can get it right into spots. The legs are going to balance you out where you don't have to worry about the stand. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the great things about it. And then for a run and gun situation, you can go in there, get the shot done quick and gone, or I have to go in, I have to carry a stand up, set it down, try to get it level, and then get my shot.
That's the trade-off that we kind of seem to agree on. I think Shom's setup, for the amount of power that you're getting and the recycle time and the quality of the images, it's pretty awesome. I clearly won the shootout. It has some limits in terms of where you can position it. The Speedlite with a Maven adapter and a small umbrella, really mobile, really light, really easy. It was just as fast as I could tell Adam to reposition it, and that was a benefit. So there's positives and negatives to both systems. So what were the lessons I learned from the noon shoot? The Speedlite simply does not have enough power to fill, even on full power, when you're shooting at longer focal lengths, such as 200 millimeters. We solved this by moving the Speedlite closer to our subject using the Maven adapter and then using our master to slave feature. Problem number 2, small light sources create very hard shadows. We solved this by using a diffuser or an umbrella to soften the edges. Problem number 3. Smaller sized apertures create an unpleasing, deeper depth of field. We used a variable ND filter to allow for a wider aperture without overexposing. In this scenario, can a smaller, underpowered Speedlite match a studio strobe? The short answer is that with the right tools and knowledge, yes it can, but your overall power, recycle time, and the number of shots you can take will be very limited. Here are some of the best shots from our noon shootout. So in summary, what are the major differences between each of these systems? The Cheetah Stand CL360 had much more power, much faster recycle time, and it also allowed for many more shots due to the battery pack. It's also less expensive. In fairness to the Speedlite, it was blazingly fast to set up and to change your shots. If you're going for a high variety of shots and experimentation, Speedlite is going to allow you to do it faster. It's much smaller and much lighter than a studio strobe. There were many features in the Speedlite that we didn't even talk about, such as ETTL, stroboscopic shooting. There's a lot of wonderful features with slaves and transmitters built into these systems that are just tremendous. If you're shooting events, or if you're doing on-the-go shooting, like a wedding ceremony, there is no better option than a Speedlite. So they both have their strengths and their weaknesses, and we hope that this video outlines how they can be used and where the overlap is. We are super thankful to Shom for shooting and sharing with us. If you guys need a great studio strobe, I would definitely recommend the Cheetah Stand CL360. I just got one, I use it now, and I love it. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you found this video helpful, you may be interested in my Speedlite or my lighting crash course videos. They're available as DVDs as well as immediate downloads. I'll get you up to speed in using your lighting equipment in no time, and you can order them from the following links.